Welcome to Kerbal Space Program. In this video I'm going to answer the question, can you gravity turn hands-free with Kerbal Space Program 1.9? When I say hands-free, I mean with a minimum amount of control from the player and not using any mods like MechJeb or Kerbal operating system or something like that. The answer to the question is sort of. So what I'll do is I'll just go right from the top and just show how I actually did this. So first we go to a start game. Let's just say start new. We'll just call this just call it we'll just call it hands-free, and just for the options I just want to disable comms network because I don't want that. Plus I want to include the stock vessels. Okay, yeah, we'll just overwrite that one. What I'll use is a stock vessel. This is, when they say stock vessel, I mean one that's been supplied by Kerbal Space Program. So you don't have to build your own craft. You can just use the stock one. So I'll just base it on that. It's a design that I know will actually make it to orbit quite easily. It's called Kerbal 1, and that's it there. So I'll just load that one in. See, it's a pretty simple design, and we'll just call it for this one. It's going to be the first experiment. We'll just call it hands-free. The reason why I'm naming it this will become apparent. I have to make one slight modification, and that's add a launching tower to it, otherwise it just doesn't tend to work. So we'll want two of those. Put there, and we'll just move that the launch tower release down to the first stage there, and we'll just save that one. Okay, you can just see this is in a standard configuration, sort of straight out of the box, and the thing is pointing up at well, we'll just call straight up zero degrees. Some people call it 90 degrees, but they tend to say 0 degrees is the horizon. But just to keep it simple, we'll just use this one pointing straight up. The reason this first one is just sort of to establish a baseline. We'll just go to launching that. Now this is the first day I'm using the new release, which is of Kerbal Space Program, which is 1.9. I've noticed a couple of oddities about it. One is the camera's a bit strange, but I'll try to get that sorted out. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a standard orbit for each experiment. I'm going to wait till the vessel gets to 100 meters per second before attempting any turn, and I'll aim for an apoapsis of 100 kilometers. That's the high point in the orbit. And to judge how good the gravity turn actually was, that'll be given by the value of the apoapsis when the periapsis. The closer the periapsis is to 100 kilometers, after the gravity turn is finished. That is my criteria for judging how good the gravity turn was. Alrighty, so this one, okay, so we'll just we'll put thrust up at maximum, switch SAS on, and use stability assist, which is just there. So in other words, we're not going to turn at all. So this will just to be to establish our baseline. So we'll go with that. So we're just going to turn the volume down a little. Switch back over to this new display here, so you can see the uplaps is climbing there. So just got to wait till this figure here gets to 100. And oops. Don't worry about it. Yeah, that figure there has to get to 100. So okay, you still got to stage the rocket manually by hitting the space bar in this case. Okay, that apoapse is going up pretty quickly, so I've just got my finger on the throttle button, so I could switch it off straight away as soon as it reaches 100. Might still get to the next staging though. I think it will. Okay, apoapse is about 100 kilometers. It's close enough. So just this is my baseline. I'll just write down the periaps, which is about minus 599 kilometers, which if you've done any of this before, you know is pretty useless. Basically going to go almost straight up and straight back down again. So in other words, it didn't turn at all. All right. Let's just revert that. Revert to vehicle assembly. Now this is where the starts to get a bit interesting. So what I'll do is I'll rotate the whole vessel to I'll rotate it 5 degrees. Oh, it always does it, doesn't it? Hang on, let me reset it. For some reason the rotate keys aren't working, so I got to use this horrible gizmo thing. Normally I use the rotate keys on the keyboard, and it's much easier. You don't get that sort of yippy thing going on if you've sort of misjudged the turn a little bit. Okay. I think that's about right. Yeah. Okay. We'll call that. So I rotated at 5 degrees. So let's just call that. And why it does that, I've got absolutely no idea. Something a bit wrong, I think. Alright, we'll just launch that one. Looks a bit more than 5 degrees, doesn't it? Oh no, it's probably, if you look, I hope you can see my cursor. Yeah, it's about 5 degrees. That's 10 degrees between each of those. Yeah, 5 degrees. No, it's fine. It's just my eyes. See if I can fix up this camera. Right, we'll switch the SAS on. Throttle up to max. And what we're going to do is, okay, it's already launching in sort of a start of the turn position, but that by itself is not good enough. If you want to do a pure gravity turn, which is what I'm doing in this case, you need a little bit of guidance to make it work. And I'll demonstrate it on the nav ball once the thing gets started. But just to do that, you got to select the prograde follower. That's actually a surface prograde follower. But the thing is, you can't activate it until the rocket is already moving. It's just the way it's been designed. The other thing is, well, I'm saying that the rocket has to be moving at least 100 meters per second before I engage the prograde follower. So anyway, let's get going. Okay, started the gravity turn. You can see it's turning automatically by itself. You can see there's no input from me whatsoever. So this is basically just the prograde follower and nothing else. If you sort of start to follow the prograde too early, it just causes a rocket to tip over. So it's kind of unstable. I might demonstrate that at the end of the video. So you can see it's still turning over automatically. And the nose of the rocket is sticking right into the oncoming breeze as it was, meaning the angle of attack is pretty much zero. So that's what you want in an ideal well, it's not the best gravity turn, but it is a pretty efficient gravity turn. I've done this experiment before. Have to take my word for it at this stage. I might do another video and actually pull out a whiteboard and try to actually explain what's going on. I can't do the mathematics, that's a little bit beyond my understanding, but I do know sort of conceptually what's going on. I'll put that in another video, because that's only for the real diehards. But once you see the way the vectors line up, it becomes pretty obvious what's going on. Why this turn actually works the way that it does. Something's turning the rocket, and it's gravity, obviously. That's why they call it a gravity turn. The other feature of a gravity turn is the turning tends to slow itself down as well, which is kind of another feature of the way the vectors are all adding up. Geez, I might even get into orbit with a bit of luck. No, okay. Sorry, I missed that a little bit. Okay, the apoapsis is about 100 kilometers. It's a little bit over, but let's not worry about that. It's only a rough experiment. So the periapsis is about let's just call it -7 kilometers. So you can see it's much better than the baseline that we established in the first launch. So there you go. It's almost a little bit further than it would have been in an okay orbit. Maybe not quite a circular orbit, but it would be close enough to do other things. Just not quite. The periapsis is still going beneath the surface of Kerbin. Obviously, you want that to be above the atmosphere in most cases. So that was 5 degrees. Okay, so let's revert that. Alrighty, let's just call it. Let's just name it before I actually make any. No, that's alright. I'll just reset it again. There you go. Back into vertical. Rotate it. Okay. I hope that's good. We'll find out anyway. Call this one 10 degrees. Oh, that's irritating, isn't it? Missed that one in quality assurance, didn't I? Okay, just save that first. And go to launch. Just write down that's going to be 10 degrees. Alright, okay, let's check the nav ball. Yeah, that's 10 degrees. That's good. That's good enough. Boy, it put me a long way away, didn't it? It's this camera's not. Yeah, something's a little bit off, I think, with the camera. Anyway, not to worry. Same protocol as before. Maximum thrust, and get it up to 100 meters per second, and then engage the prograde follower. Okay. This one's a bit more aggressive than the other one. It may not even succeed. It's a little bit too aggressive. Oh, we'll just see. We'll just see. You never know. Again, you can see that the angle of attack is 0, and that happens automatically. Yeah, it's a lot more aggressive turn. That's why you're getting the air. It's turning a lot quicker, and it's a lot lower in the atmosphere as it turns. So you're getting the aerodynamic effects. Interesting to see what actually happens with this one. I haven't tried it yet. This is the very first time for me. But that's Kerbal for you. You can experiment to your heart's content. Yeah, I think it's not going to survive. No, it's actually descending. Okay, so we've already sort of hit the limits of the turn. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's go back to this one again. We'll go back to our. So yeah, I can't. The construction tool won't let me set say an angle between. I got 5 degrees and I've got 10 degrees and that's it. I can't set an angle, say, in between those. The tool just isn't precise enough, the construction tool just isn't precise enough to do that. So if you wanted to be a lot more precise than that, you'd have to go off and write a Kerbal operating system script or something like that. But that's outside the scope of this video. But there is one other parameter I can tweak, and I'll do that. Where is it? Hands free. If I can find it again. There it is. Right. Just go to launch. This type of gravity turn, there's two parameters you can tweak. One is the initial angle at launch. I call that a perturbation, but that's just my term for it. So basically, the perturbation is there it is. There. I hope you can see my cursor. It's 5 degrees, but I was waiting till it reached 100 meters per second before starting up the prograde follower. I'm going to reduce that to 50 meters per second and just see what sort of effect we get from that. The thing is about this type of gravity turn is you want to turn the it's easier to start a turn the slower you're moving, because the faster you're going, the harder and harder it is to actually perturb the forward motion of the rocket down towards the horizon a bit. So the slower it's moving, the easier it is to turn, and that's if I do that video where I sort of show the vectors and stuff. I'll try to explain that. I can understand it conceptually, but I don't have the mathematics, and honestly I can't be asked working it out. If I can understand something conceptually, I don't usually go to maths because I don't like maths very much. Oh, I can do it, but it's just I just find it hard work, so I can't be bothered. So I can't show you mathematically, but I can show you conceptually. Alright, so let's do the same procedure, and we're just looking for 50 meters per second this time. Oh, I missed it. Jesus. Sorry about that. So here we go, this one. It's pretty aggressive. Maybe not quite so aggressive as the other one. Yeah, it was more like 60 or 70 meters per second. I might have to try to see if we can do that a little bit better. So what am I trying to say with all of this? Gravity turns are in an atmosphere a compromise between being aggressive and not being so aggressive that you start to lose velocity due to air resistance in the atmosphere. So the lower you are down in the atmosphere, the more air resistance there is, and the more losses you get due to that. So yeah, this one's probably not going to make it. Be lucky if this one makes it. I think it's already at maximum now. We'll just give it a chance. Yeah, it's descending. Okay. So obviously that means this is 5 degrees, isn't it? So gee, I must have hit the sweet spot the first time around. That was lucky, wasn't it? Okay. I'll try to make starting velocity just for the sake of the exercise. I'll make it. Oh, 50 was probably no good. I'll try to make it say about 80 or something like that. See if I can just get it to work. This is obviously going to crash, so I don't care. Let's try again. Alright. You know, the optimal parameters is going to be different depending on the your design of your rocket, and probably about 10 other factors. I'm not really going to go into that. I'll leave that for you to play around with. Okay. I'll aim for about 80, maybe 80. Okay, I think I've got 80 pretty much on the nose. See how this goes. And I'll try one more, maybe 200, 150 meters a second perhaps. Let's just make it 200. Maybe somebody's thinking, well, you know, if you let the rocket get a bit faster and get a bit higher in the atmosphere, your gravity turn will be better, and you could be correct. So let's go and try it, you know, easiest thing to do. Yeah, this one sort of managed to turn itself around a little bit somehow. This one looks pretty good actually. Hopefully we get some data out of this one. Did that go? Oh, no, it didn't. Sorry about that. I heard a click and then it... Alright, whatever. Not going to make too much difference. Oh, it's still ascending. If it doesn't burn up, the parachute's getting quite hot. Still ascending though. No, it's descending now. Okay, it's gonna explode anyway. It's gonna overheat. Yeah, there goes the overheat there. Alright, I think it's gonna blow up. We don't need to worry about it. Okay, alright, let's just make this one 200 meters per second, see what happens. Full throttle, engage SAS. Aiming for 200 meters per second instead of 100. Yeah, it's almost stopped turning. Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, it's still turning. It's very slowly. It's going to get up to 100 pretty quickly. That's going to be yeah. Oops. Okay. Apoapsis is 100 kilometers there, and periapsis is about minus 543. So obviously, when it comes to circularization, you'd have to expend more fuel to get a circular orbit out of it, which you can see. I mean, that's one of the point of getting the angle of the turn correct, because the more velocity you manage to generate perpendicular to the surface of Kerbin during the launch, the less you're going to have to circularize your orbit later. So it's a classic trade-off situation. I think I actually, you know what, I'm going to redo just this last experiment, because I didn't see the Kerbal Space Program's got a nasty habit of going into orbit mode a bit early, in my opinion, and it actually does change the way the prograde follower works. You can see how it changes: surface, orbit, surface, orbit. So if it switches to orbit automatically, you've got to switch it back to surface manually. So let's just redo that experiment. Try to get another set of figures. Okay, so I made it 200, didn't I? Yeah. SAS on for right. So it means I got to. Okay, I got to watch several things now. It's starting to get complicated. See, it's surface now, but it changes to orbit. And a surface prograde is a different vector than an orbit prograde. Just trust me on that one. Yeah, there we go. I'm just going to watch it. Keep my eye on the staging as well. You watch it when it goes into orbit mode. That vector there will change. That yellow circle is a vector. You'll have to take my word on that one as well. And then see, it changed, so I'll just switch it back in manually. I'm going to change the result a little bit perhaps. Let's see anyway. Okay, so we got about 5 minus 556. Actually, it's a little bit worse than the other result. Oh, it's so close. I'd call it a tie. It's probably within the error of me, you know, how quickly I push the buttons and stuff like that. Alrighty, so if you're into, if you do want to experiment with sort of pure gravity turns, the way that I've defined a pure gravity turn, using minimal guidance, meaning no player involved, me or you, and getting gravity to do the turning. So I've given you a method where you can try it out and you don't have to install any mods like MechJeb or Kerbal operating system to play around with it, and you don't even have to build a rocket because the Kerbal 1 stock rocket is more than up to the job. Alrighty, I'll catch you some other episode.